It's 7 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen. Call the meeting to order. Good evening to members of the public, members of the commission. I'm Chuck Sheehan, current chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and this is the Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 special meeting of the Planning and Zoning. Let the record reflect it was called to order at 7 p.m. We have all regular members present this evening, so no alternates will be seated. Any minutes in the package tonight? No minutes. Okay. So we'll move to public comment. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to who wants to address the commission about any matter that's not on our agenda. And you're free to come forward, just state your name and address, and you're free to speak to the board about any issue that's not on the agenda. Anybody wish to speak?
Aye.
Carlene? You know the drill. I know. Good evening.
Good evening. As you all know, my name is Carlene Donarumo. You want to know my address? It's 22 Oakwood Avenue in Pawcatuck, Connecticut.
Thank you for indulging us.
Following the directions like I used to make my students do. As a resident who follows zoning in the town of Stonington, I would like to comment on applicants applying for special use permits and the checklist that is part of the application. The checklist, as you know, is a means of tracking all the requirements needed to secure a special use permit. Applicants must check which items are provided with an X, and for those items which are not provided, they put a W, which means they are asking for a waiver. At the bottom of the form, though, is the following statement. The Planning and Zoning Commission may waive one or more of the above application documents by majority vote, provided that such request is made in writing at the time of an application submission, describing in full sufficient detail why such information is not relevant to that special use permit application. Very rarely have I seen that done. Last month on the agenda, there was one application that actually followed the rules and submitted a page and a half of the why they wanted to have these items waived. However, that is a rare rarity. I would like to congratulate that application for following the rules. And they're not here tonight anyway. There are 18 items on that checklist, and each one is very important. So personally, I would like to see all people involved paying more attention to waiver requests. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Anyone else wish to address the commission? Hearing no one. Correspondence, Clifton?
None.
No correspondence. Okay. Reports from the staff?
None on the agenda, just I finally received responses for the doodle poll I set out, which was regarding the request for a special meeting on the POCD process. Yes. The two dates I got the same amount of responses of 5 people for are February 20th and February 25th. So that had the majority, and so it would be up to the commission to choose one of those dates, and then I'll have to search around and find a suitable place to host the meeting, and we'll update it and put it on the website and all the agenda and stuff like that. But like I said in the email, then obviously for the general public, the purpose of the special meeting on the POCD would be firstly to discuss the commission's preference in terms of developing a subcommittee or a steering committee in order to guide the POCD. And then the second part would be to coordinate that with the kickoff with SLR, who is available both those dates as well. So I would have the project lead from SLR in attendance. They'd give a brief presentation on their scope of work, their planned schedule for the POCD. That would be open, obviously, for the commission and then anybody for the public to attend. and learn about the process as well, but that's the intent of that
Thank you
meeting.
for following up on that. Does the commission have a preference for either one of those dates? Maybe we can decide it right now.
Can I just ask the time? Are we looking at 6 or 7 o'clock start?
Yeah, so I think it's best to keep a similar schedule to what the commission has done for other meetings, so 6 or 7 p.m. at night, and then it would be a 2 to 3 hour meeting, with part of it dedicated specifically just to the commission to discuss and decide amongst themselves how you want to develop a steering committee or subcommittee, or what your questions or comments are. And then the second part would be dedicated to the presentation from the consultant, and then the commission asking questions back and forth with the consultant, so. It'd be a 2-part meeting, but that's why I'm blocking out probably 3 hours, so we can have.
And you said the 20th, and then the other date, the 25th?
20th or the 25th.
20th is.
Yeah, 20th, I would say, just from my perspective, works
Anyone
better
have
for
any
me.
objection to the 20th?
20th works better for me.
Okay, the 20th it is.
Although we do meet,
At
meetings
6,
Tuesday night.
do you think? 6 or 7?
It'd probably be 6 p.m.
Okay.
I just have to find a location, and it might not be this building.
Jeez, what a shame.
Just because the Board of Police Commissioners meets here on the 20th. So I'll have to find a location, but that would be posted online appropriately.
If we could have heat, that'd be really good.
Not outside. Yeah. Okay, I'll distribute that, but thank you.
Anyone from the commission have anything they wish to bring up at this time? Okay, zoning enforcement and violations, anything noteworthy, Clifton, that we should be aware of?
None at this time.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on zoning enforcement or violations? Admin review, no items this evening.
None.
Which brings us to old business. First application is PZ 244 5 SPA Hero Holdings LLC. This was a site plan application for change of use, interior renovations, properties located at 769 Stonington Road, Stonington. Properties located in a GC 60 zone. Is there someone here representing the applicant? Please come forward. Anyone have any questions at all, or?
My name's Clay Burkhalter, and I co-own Hero Holdings with my wife Glenna Doyle, who's here.
Anyone have any questions for the applicant? What's the commission's pleasure on the application of Hero Holdings LLC?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application for Heroes Holdings LLC as submitted.
Second.
Motion to approve. Any conditions at all on that, Ryan?
No, no
Okay, it's been
stipulations.
seconded by Commissioner Morrison. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. Thank you, sir. Second item is application PZ 2501.
That's for
Cam,
That's for the 18th.
I'm sorry?
That's to be discussed on February 18th.
Okay, fine. Fine, so we don't have to table this, we just,
Nope.
okay. Which brings us now to public hearings. And the first item, do we have to take this off the table and table it again, or?
No, the applicant for PZ 2442 requested yesterday to move that meeting from tonight to the 18th.
What are the issues? Just.
As we immediately opened and continued the public hearing last time, but the discussions regarding questions and comments myself and the town engineer have.
Okay.
And we're working with the applicant to kind of go through.
That's
this.
fine.
So we're having a
Best
meeting
it
on
comes
Friday.
without a lot of questions from the staff.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is the application PZ 242-7, special use permit, Pinewood Landscaping LLC, and we need a motion to take this off.
Need a motion to open the hearing.
No, it's
Or
open
is that-
last
It was continued from November
Open last
19th,
time.
Oh, okay.
so
So,
I think we have to reopen the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reopen the public hearing for PZ 2427 SUP Pinewood Landscaping.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion to reopen, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Can I just say, the minutes say November 19th. Should it say November?
Correct. It was originally opened and continued immediately on November 19th, and then we've done a series of extensions to now.
And we still have time on this, right?
Or is it time flies?
This is the last meeting,
Okay.
I believe.
Thanks,
Well, I can share this.
thank you.
They have one more available extension.
Okay. You have the floor, sir.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mark Lemke, and I live at Yellowfin Court with my wife Linda, who's sitting right here in the back. We're joined here tonight by James Morrissey. James is from Pinewood Landscaping. He's going to be installing the retaining wall, and he's our landscape architect. At our January 21st meeting, 2 weeks ago, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we presented our application to build a retaining wall in our backyard at 8 Yellowfin Court. And at this meeting, at that meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission asked that we prepare and present a landscaping plan for our project. So Pinewood Landscaping, James is here. He's prepared the plan, and he's here to review that plan with us tonight.
Sir?
So, my name is James Morrissey. This is what we've come up with so far. This is what we've come up with, to screen the wall, best screen the wall, because right about here is going to be the highest part of this wall. This wall right here is about 14 feet exposed, and then it's down on each side. So I proposed to put some Spartan junipers. They get about 15 feet tall, and they spread about 4 or 5 feet wide. And then I got some pear trees here on either side, flank each side for the neighbors, with some hydrangeas and red twig dogwoods bushes underneath here to give it some nice color in the backdrop against the wall.
How tall is everything when it's planted?
These are going to come, we're going to get these approximately 7 feet tall, 7 to 8, start off that, so we're already pretty.
How quickly do they grow?
They're going to grow probably 5-6 inches a year, maybe a little bit less, depending on the soil conditions and how we have water and everything. But they're pretty durable for this area. The root structure is not going to affect the bottom of the wall at all, so that's why we want it, because the property line's right about here.
Do you think the pear trees are an effective screen when the leaves are down?
Yes, I do. I mean, for the winter, we did that. Or spruce trees, but these are going to grow a lot faster, give a lot quicker screen. And then I do believe this will give a nice screening, even with the leaves off. And then you got the red twig dogwoods bushes that are going to be down there. This side here is only going to be about 6 to 8 feet tall over here. This is not, the highest part is right here.
Okay.
And that's the part where the property line is right here, and then actually here, there is already existing screening on this side, like shrubbery, woods, already right here. Goes existing right on the property line and into the neighbors. So there already is a ton of screening there.
But that's the neighbors.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
But what I'm
So-
saying is, right here are the junipers that are going to get about 15 feet tall.
Right.
So if they were to cut all that down, yes, you will see all this, but.
The rendering is very helpful, thank you.
Yeah, you've done a great job with the rendering.
If I may ask a
So-
question too?
Sure.
I'm just curious, have you shared this plan with the neighbors? Or anybody around, just out of curiosity?
We've just come up with the planting plan.
Okay.
As of last meeting, that's what you were looking for. We just come up with this.
Okay. If anyone would like to come forward so you can actually see the plan, if anybody is interested, a neighbor, if you want to relocate so you can get a look at it, I know there were some concerns.
Yeah, we could.
So I have some questions.
Yeah, oh,
too.
please,
Okay.
by all
I
means.
have a number of questions. So the junipers being planted a single row, not double row?
There's not a lot of room here, so from the wall to the property line is 10 feet. So I was doing a nice long edge, close together. It wasn't going to space them, they're going to be about 3 to 4 feet apart, so they'll fill in nicely.
Okay, and how, so 7 foot, 5 to 6 inches a year, you're looking at 10 years for it to cover that wall.
Okay. Yeah,
10 years. Maybe we need to make them bigger, taller.
You know, we're very effective. When Dog Watch put in the,
But those are arborvitae.
they call them big boys or something, they're,
green giants.
The
Green
green
giant.
giant,
Giant,
they grow
yeah.
like 2 feet a
And they
year.
did-
they bought a
They
whole
grow
truckload of them.
way too.
They also grow like 50
they're
feet.
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, they have a huge root ball, I know.
Yeah, so they're kind of, they're great for a property screening, but I don't have that, we don't have that much room.
Okay, yeah, the root ball is huge.
Yeah, we have 10, only from the face of the wall to the property line, it's only 10 feet.
So is there room to do something in between where it's taller than 7 feet? I agree with Lynn.
I mean, we could definitely look at like a hornbeam tree, you know, to kind of give it some height. They stay narrow.
But we want an evergreen.
Yeah,
Well,
And
I
we
guess the
want
question
something
would
that's
be,
deer resistance, and those deer will go after that juniper like
These are deer
anything.
resistant.
Yeah.
Really? Want to come to my house?
These are Spartan junipers, these are a little bit different. So, these what they're saying, they're deer resistant, this is what I'm told.
would it be possible to get them planted higher, more mature?
Yeah, I mean, we can get.
either that or
all
could
the
there be a
trees.
mound? Could you have
We can mound them,
Mm.
we can take it from the bottom of the wall and put a mound, and then that will give it
That might work.
up 2
Yeah.
feet right there.
Like a
Yeah.
berm. You can do
Yeah.
like a berm, not
So
like.
basically,
Yeah.
so basically, but if we get 7 to 8, we'll be almost at 10 feet by the time, so then all will be left is maybe another 4 feet showing on the top. And that's, again, the biggest part of the wall is only right here. That's the top.
And that's the part that we're interested in.
Correct,
So,
and that's that's just right here, so
Mhm.
the rest of it's gonna be, these will probably start covering it right away.
So if you made it in a 9-foot tree, put the two berms, you're up to 11 feet, in 5 years or less, you might cover that wall.
Yeah, so we go up to like a 9 to 10.
Yep, 9 to 10, 10 foot, okay, so 10 foot, 2-foot berm. Okay, and then your pear trees, so, you know, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna work from, I don't know, they drop their leaves very early, and they don't get their leaves till very late. So that's not really gonna be screening at all for
Okay.
anything but the summer.
You wanna see some
very
evergreen?
early. Yeah, I think it's nice to have definitely a
We're
great
trying to make it look good
visual.
from everybody when they're coming up.
Yeah, when
and
they're coming
not just
up,
a
they don't
green
wanna see,
edge.
right.
So we're trying to make it
Yeah.
look nice as well.
So maybe you could put, you could put a couple of the pear, but do some evergreens behind them with the baby hydrangea or the pygmy hydrangea.
So we could put some other junipers coming across the back here,
Mm-hmm.
to give it a back screening. So maybe carry these around a little bit more, but I don't have to go 10 foot. I'll do 10 foot in this section here, and then I can start stepping it down.
Mm-hmm. Right, because the
So
wall
basically-
steps
So
down,
basically
right?
give it a lining
Yeah.
of a screening for it.
Yeah.
Then I can kind of give it the decorative look, just a nice look for the neighbors looking at it.
Exactly. And then in the back, we're talking the same thing in the back. Like, see where you've got those in the back there? Yeah.
Yeah, on this side here,
same
yeah, we'll
thing.
wrap it around, if we're
Wrap
gonna do
it.
one side, you're gonna have to probably do the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions of this applicant?
And let me just, you're good and your customer's good with doing that too? They're all in favor of that? Okay, I see you're nodding back there. Just want to make sure, you're making a lot of promises, they gotta,
We're gonna get this done.
yeah, okay.
Bradford bears, they were kind of named an invasive species. Can you still use them? I know some states banned them.
The Bradford, we don't use a lot of them,
No,
no, I
okay.
mean, they're hard to get.
Is that's not what that is? It's
No, it's the
Cali, that's the
Cali.
same, okay.
It's a little bit different.
Somebody has them on their green. What is this? Well, some town has a Bradford pear tree on their green, a shoreline town.
We do.
They- we did.
They're all
Close.
down, down
Yeah.
pockets of his own.
Anyway, any other questions of the applicant?
So just to summarize, we're going to take the spruce, we're gonna wrap it around 3 sides.
Mhm.
In the front, you're gonna put, they're gonna be shorter, and you're gonna have the pear trees in front of the spruce, and then the pygmies.
Correct.
Then around the side with the tallest portion of the wall, you're going to have start out with a 10-foot tree and a
9 to 10,
2-foot berm,
yeah.
9 to 10.
Give or take, it
'cause-
depends,
yeah.
they come in
Yeah,
range.
a range.
Yeah.
9 to 10 with a 2-foot berm, so that'd bring it up to approximately 11 feet. And then on the back side, it's the same thing. You'll have the smaller with the pear and the pygmy.
Yep,
And no berm.
so there'll be no berm, the berm's only gonna be
Right,
in this
in the
area
highest
here.
spot, right.
And then we're gonna when we start wrapping around a corner, it starts, the wall starts to get smaller, we'll start just placing them there. Again, it's only gonna be in this small section, this section here, that's small.
Yeah, we understand.
It's like 25 feet.
Got it.
Okay, and it'll be maintained, so a tree dies, the deer get it, you're gonna go back, replant.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Clifton?
Just procedurally, revised landscaping plan for the motion.
Okay.
I took all the notes,
Okay.
Glenn.
So just should add that as a stipulation.
Yep, as a stipulation, revised landscaping plan. There's only one item that's outstanding to the town engineer, which is what I passed out, and that's regarding the infiltration and drainage of the pool once it's constructed, but we discussed that at the last meeting and the commission was fine with it.
I
So,
just wanna ask one question. The fence, that's outside this, right? Because the fence on top of the wall is key. That's already
That's on
under
the
another
plans.
regulation. Okay, I just wanted to be sure, because I don't want to.
it's not an
Oh, no, well, code to have, for a pool, you have to have a fence.
I just-
Yeah, 4-foot fence.
You gotta have a 4-foot fence by
Automatic
code,
gates.
so that will be there.
Okay.
No further questions? Motion to close the public hearing?
Is there any comment from?
I'm sorry, do we have anybody signed up? I don't think anybody signed up, did they, to speak? If anyone would like to speak, any member of the public, either in favor or against, or just make a statement on this application, you're free to do so now. We have a sign-up sheet now?
Nobody signed up.
All right, well, hearing none, then we'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion to close, is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Gary, thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve?
Aye.
Oh, yeah, to close the public hearing, sorry. Yes, aye.
Okay. What's the,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application for PZ 2427 SUP Pinewood Landscaping as submitted with the following stipulations. It'll be a total of the following 6 stipulations. Number 1, the applicant shall address outstanding comments to the satisfaction of the town planner and town engineer as applicable. Number 2, any proposed alterations or modifications to the approved site plan as a result of comments from the town planner and town engineer shall be subject to review and approval by the commission as necessary. Number 3, final plans shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer and town planner. Number 4, final plans shall be signed by the commission and recorded in the town's land evidence records. Number 5, the applicant shall post an erosion and sedimentation control bond prior to the issuance of a zoning permit. The bond shall be either in the form of a certified check or a revocable letter of credit meeting the requirements of ZR 15.4.3. The bond amount shall be established by the town engineer after an estimate of the cost of installing and maintaining appropriate erosion sedimentation control measures is provided by the applicant and approved by the town engineer. Work shall remain bonded for a minimum of 1 year from the date of zoning compliance. And then the 6th stipulation is that the applicant will submit a revised landscaping plan to include the comments from tonight's discussion, as Commissioner Conway outlined.
and that's a total of 6 conditions?
Correct.
Okay, so a motion to approve the application of Pinewood Landscaping LLC with 6 conditions by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
And just to confirm, Clifton, I'm also good because they were waivers requested as well, right? So I can combine those.
Yep.
So the waivers are included
Yeah.
with the motion to approve?
And was there justification for waiving?
They provided a narrative
Okay.
as part of the application.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. All in favor of the motion to approve with conditions?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. Motion passes. Thank you for working with us on
Thank you.
additional landscaping. I think it's a much better application. Okay, we need a motion to reopen the next application, Town of Stonington.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reopen the application for the Town of Stonington text amendment, which is PZ 2444RA.
Motion to reopen the public hearing on the Town of Stonington text amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The hearing is back on. Clifton, we, at the close of last meeting, we had asked any commissioners that had any suggested modifications of the language to feedback, and I understand there was feedback. Could you summarize that for us?
So I didn't get to, in time to include it in the report, but Commissioner Morrison did provide some feedback. Commissioner, if you'd like to share your thoughts.
Whatever. So I had a couple
I
of,
have some recollection I can help.
it was just yesterday. To knock down the percentage from 75, and I was going back and forth on numbers in my head, between 10 and 25 was my, like I said, like I don't, when I'll discuss all those things. To have a setback for the structure, and I don't know how that would work, whether it's 1.5 times the height that they want. If they want 10 feet, then they'd have to go back, 15 feet from the roof edge to push it into the center of the building.
Yeah.
So it's not like right on the outside. So then it's not really that obvious was one of them. Item C, the difference between item C and D, I'm okay with, well, I'm not okay, but the architectural features, I think those really should have to stick within the bounds of the height, but the mechanicals, that would be more in my discussion point. But I don't see why saying like, oh, I need an exception because I want to put in a skylight. That should fall in between regular. That should be a regular height thing in my mind. And again, between C and D, one of them's measured from the midpoint of the roof, and one's measured from the highest point of the tallest roof. So those things, I think, if we're going to keep C in and D in, I think only having one height dimension, because then it gets really confusing. And then if it's not listed, so for number C, it lists a whole bunch of things. But if it's not listed in either one, I don't know what we could think of that would fall. They don't really know where they're going to fall. So, see what I'm saying? So I think having one height definition. Is that all I had?
Yep.
Pretty much sums that all up.
So I tried to look up various ordinances through towns and whatnot. It's very difficult. Ours is so much better. And I agree with 10%. And the setback is an excellent suggestion. I also looked up elevators. I looked up cupolas too, but it's a whole kind of graph based on the width and the height and exactly how it's going to look. So I thought that was a little too complicated. But what I found for elevators, and again, I am not an engineer, but it said 4 feet above the roof. So I don't think that we need something that's 10 feet. So I actually think we should go with the 10%. I like the 1.5 of the height, but I don't think the height should be more than like 5 feet. I don't think there's any reason to go 10 feet above the height. And I do think that should be less for a residential structure, as in A, how we have A, where it says, shall not exceed 5%. I think that makes sense for residential. And I do think that there was one other point. I agree with you, and I couldn't figure out a reason why the skylights need to be in there at all. I mean, I just don't see that.
Anyone else have any comments?
The other thing I had was to limit the number of things they can have on the roof.
Mhm.
Right, not 10. I mean, if you limit it to 10%, that defaults to a certain number, but if we go with the high, I don't know what the commission's gonna say, but I don't wanna have 10 of these little things all over the roof. And I don't know what would be an appropriate
guess
number.
I'm hearing what people say, I guess I'm trying to figure out, is there, I guess, how's the right way to put it? Is there a method to what we're discussing, the changes? Is there, I don't want to use the word science.
Science.
Is there science or
Yeah.
data that says, yeah, this is actually what we should be versus where we are? And I don't know the answer. I tried to look some stuff up.
I don't think
couldn't
there's
see anything.
any, I don't,
Oh, no, I'm
I
asking.
didn't see
you to
anything.
answer
yeah,
that
I
question.
can't,
I don't know.
like data
I
for,
think
like
you
what
used
kind
the
of
word
data would we be looking
scholarship,
for?
put scholarship around this, and I
Yeah.
didn't see anything that I saw things about sizes of cupolas and how you size a cupola and things of that nature, various architectural features, but nothing about mechanical penthouses or anything like this. And so I couldn't find anything scientific. And aside from that, I think it's common sense as to, how much of an additional story do you want to see added, and how much relief do you want to provide? And I think some of that is going to be arbitrary. And is it 75?
Yeah, that's
Or is it
where I kinda-
50?
I think it's
Is it
all
25
arbitrary.
or is it 10? I couldn't find anything that applied any science to it, so I think it's common sense. And this whole thing started as an outgrowth of the fact that we didn't even know we took it out.
Right.
And so we were gonna bring it back in its entirety as is, which I don't think any of us feels, that it doesn't need some surgery. I certainly do. But I think we're rushing to do it. I almost think that the original logic of bringing it back and then studying it with the staff to refine it and do it right is the way to do it, and we will get it right, as opposed to and I think there's been a lot of good work. I think your suggestions are good. I think we ought to consider them. I think your suggestions are good, and I think we ought to consider them. But I think that this was all forced by an application, and I don't want to get into a discussion of the application because it would be improper. This has to stand on its own, just as a regulation. But there's no question that created some impetus for this to keep moving forward. But now that it's withdrawn, that pressure is gone. So I don't know what the commission's pleasure on this is. As the chair, I'm going to remain neutral because there's, I think, several different stances on this. But
Well, can I just add one more thing? Can I just add one more thing about this?
Please.
When it was, from what I understand, when it was in before, it was only in the flood zone because you couldn't put the mechanicals in the basement in the flood zone.
Nope, it was across all zones.
Was it? I thought it was only flood zone.
Nope, that was the first proposal from
Was
FHI.
was only in the flood zone.
Was-
Okay, why did I keep thinking it was only in the
And
flood
then
zone?
the first
So-
proposal from FHI in recommendation number 4 was only for the flood zone. And then the first application that came before the commission for the reg amendment was for that, for only in the
So it was always
flood
in
zone.
all zones?
Correct, it was always in all zones
Okay.
by a special use permit.
Okay, I thought it was just the flood zone, okay.
Am I able to comment on this one? It's a public comment.
yeah, it's a public
So-
hearing, please,
Perfect.
Mariella.
So I did some research as well. Every single zoning regulation that I found had a height exception. Most of them didn't have any sort of requirement. So I'll name a couple of them. Like Branford specifically said that maximum height shall not apply to the following when not for human occupancy. Spires, cupolas, towers, chimneys, flagpoles, silos, as well as features such as tanks and heating, ventilating, air conditioning, railing, and elevator equipment. They said it cannot occupy more than 25%. Groton has the same thing, where they specify what is not included. Their building coverage is 65%. I went to Newport to check out other coastal regions as well. Same thing with them. So they have, same thing where they said such regulations shall not apply to belfries, cupolas, flagpoles, water tanks, ventilations. So a lot of the other zoning regulations, very few of them had any numbers. I also did East Haddam as well. They left a lot of those height exceptions to the zoning commission.
Discretion.
Yep.
Great work.
So, yeah, I picked 4 or 5, but every single one, I just downloaded theirs and did height exceptions, and then I just had to find that. So it does seem like this is the norm for most towns, but there was no consistency whatsoever
Yeah.
in numbers.
So I just want to understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, Mary Ellen. You're saying that they did not give height exceptions.
None.
Okay, which
Yep.
is what I found and what, okay,
So they-
Alyssa's
I think they,
suggesting. For
did they,
architectural,
They said-
for architectural,
But they included in their elevator shafts and air conditioning units.
which is not architectural.
Exactly,
Right.
so they did anything that's, yeah, so, but there was no additional, like, everybody had a height limit, it was anywhere between 35 and 75 feet, so that was huge, but nobody gave a specific height limit to the things that we were talking about. So I think like even the 75% and the 10 feet
It's
were
actually
things, were specific to us, where others were definitely leaving it much more open to the discretion of the commission.
But those were ones that you found, like what about towns that didn't address it at all? So you would assume that they don't have any kind of a
I-
leeway on that?
I didn't find a single one that didn't have similar wording to all of this,
Okay.
yeah.
thank you, Mary Ellen, it's good work.
So I looked at Westport.
Yep.
They didn't, I couldn't find anything that was really helpful.
I'm above
It's a
average
big-
schooler. I
Okay,
got you. By the
okay.
time we're done, I get
I looked,
Seymour does
so,
not have that regulation.
but are you suggesting, Chuck, just so I understand one of the things, that we, so one thing that I don't think we should do is go back to ground zero. Have 6 months, 10 months, whatever the number, and allow this to continue when none of us are comfortable with the proposed limits.
I'll just state, I am comfortable with the proposed limits as they are, since they were already there. I just want to, for the record, not to
Yeah, so
interrupt
am
you.
I, so,
Okay.
So,
yeah,
Okay.
don't say none of us.
Okay, so
Okay.
I can't get behind that, because just because it were there doesn't make it right.
I understand.
We can go back and we can change it again in 6 months if you want to put more scholarship around it.
That was your word,
but-
and I think it was a good one.
Yeah, but I don't think that we should just say, oh yeah, because it was there, those other guys must have done the right thing. We're gonna leave it for 6 to 10
I don't think
months.
anybody's saying that.
Well,
I don't think
Yeah, we're
anybody,
not
I think
saying
that's unfair. I
Yeah.
think what everybody's saying is this has been a very good discussion. I think there's a consensus around incorporating the good suggestions that you've made, the good suggestions that Commissioner Morrison has made into a tighter regulation. I certainly support that. But this just got left out, and you know, someone could probably make a very good case that it's still in legally, you know, because we didn't consciously remove it. I know there's arguments on both sides of that. So I leave it up to the commission. You know, everybody has, and you know, it's the chair's role to listen to both sides and to try to maintain neutrality. I think this has been a very good discussion, one of the best we've had, and I appreciate the commission working through it, taking time. I appreciate your good feedback with your suggestions, and I think this is going to move us in the right direction on this. So I think, you know, and I leave it up to you as to and I mean that collectively, as to how the commission moves forward this time around. So unless there's further discussion, I'd like to hear from the staff on this.
I mean, I would just reiterate what Lynn said. I think it's, you know, we've talked about this for so long, and we're really close to getting it to work. So putting in one that at least 2 of us aren't comfortable with, why don't we just spend get it right now? Like, why would we put in one that like some of us aren't comfortable with? You know, we've had a lot of good discussions about it, and I think we're really close to coming up with, you know, we're a couple of, maybe one more night, or you know, to
Well,
get those.
I think you said it yourself. You know, you'd be comfortable with 25 or 10. Which one is it? Is it which? You know, I'd rather get it right.
Right, I'd rather get it right too, but I don't want to put back in this one that's
Well,
proposed.
that's your vote, you know,
Well,
that's
and
your
then go
vote.
come back and revisit this in another 6 months.
We are definitely gonna revisit it,
But why revisit in 6 months when we have full agendas and we're so close
because
to
I
doing
don't
it
think
now?
I don't think we have a solid answer. I think it's arbitrary. And maybe somebody else doesn't.
But I think it's gonna be
And I
arbitrary.
leave it up to the commission to either make a motion to incorporate revised language, make a motion to reinstate the regulation. You know, but I think we've heard a lot of different opinions, and, you know, I don't think the commission is aligned on it, that's my sense. So, Clifton, do you have any comments?
I'll speak at the rebuttal part, after public comment.
Okay.
I
If there's
think,
no other comments from the commission, I'm sorry, Ryan.
oh, that's right, I was just gonna say, I do think it does, to me, and I know others disagree with, but to me, it really kind of originates with our rewrite process and something that we cannot prove that we consciously voted to remove. So if we can't do that, then we should put back what was there to start with. I mean, I realize people want to change it. I'm okay with what this is. I know others aren't. We need to change, want to look at changing this, making it more refined. But to me, it's correcting something in our process and being upfront about it. And I think that's, to me, that's kind of the overriding factor of the way I look at it. Again, I know it's just my opinion. Others differ, but I just wanted that on the record.
Thank you, Ryan. If there's no one else, we have several people who have signed up that would like to speak. Under the general comments rule, first is Carleen. Good evening again.
Hello there. As you know who I am.
We know where you
We
live.
do.
And you know where I am. I just want to throw one more thing into the mix, since it's a revised variation. And in my opinion, you have the ability to change things. And I'm going to refer you to just the 12.12.1. And I'm going to hand out something I did on my computer, except it was supposed to come out in red, and it didn't. I don't know why I couldn't make it that way. So what I did is I circled the area, I highlighted the area that should have been in red. And it has to do with
Thanks.
wording.
Thank you.
You're welcome. They're different sizes, because I couldn't get it aligned on the thing on the computer. And I'm just going to draw attention to 12.12.1.1, where it says, design exceptions for residential uses and structures shall receive a zoning permit pursuant to the requirements of section 15.1.2. To me, this almost implies that it's automatic, and it really isn't. So I would suggest you think about changing that word receive to the word require, which would then say design exceptions for residential uses and structures shall require a zoning permit pursuant to the requirements of section 15.1 of these regulations. And it's the same reasoning and thinking on my part for number 2, where, whoops, I forgot to underline the word, where it says shall receive a special use permit. Again, it seems like it's automatic, and it's not. What you have to do is apply for a special use permit and get it approved. So I would suggest that the rewriting of this statement would be, design exceptions for commercial uses and structures shall require an approved special use permit to pursue, pursuant, et cetera, to the rest of the thing. That's all I have to say. Oh, well, no, one more thing. On the 75%, I agree. I think it's a little bit too much. I'm not going to give you I think it's way too much, and I would hope you would consider something smaller. Thank you.
Thank you, Carleen. Next person on the list is Ben Tansky. Evening, Ben.
Good evening. Yeah, I wanted to agree with Carleen on the 75% and Lisa and Lynn. I think, I know we're not talking about the original application, but I think that your judgment may be clouded by the application that was on the table. Unfortunate situation on Broadway. And the compromise that I would suggest that you consider is change the language for the minimum that was requested originally. I think it was 5% and 6 feet high or something like that, whatever it is. Get the applicant out of the equation. Take this up during your phase 2 rewrite and do it right. Give it the scholarship that it needs. You'll have input from Francisco, and you'll have time and proper conditions to choose the right numbers and not be rushed. Just, get the pressure off, grant the minimum relief now, and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Any other comments from the commission? No other comments, Clifton?
Couple comments. One, fully agree with Carleen's recommendation on the change from receive to require. So I think that can be a stipulation of approval to make that amendment. Two, I do agree with Ben's comments on the previous application potentially clouding the discussion. I would default to approve the language that was previously in the regulations versus approving something tailor-made for an application, even though that application's not on the table in front of the commission currently. I would default the other way, but I agree with the sentiment that having that clouded judgment towards a different application because this has gone on so concurrently, I would say opens up some liability that is worrisome to me. That's why I would default to what was in the picture even before. And then I would agree that phase 2 scholarship, I mean, Mary Ellen's done some great work on the fly just to, get those numbers out. And we have other towns that you can see are ranging between area coverages from 25% all the way to 75% for us, and somewhere in the middle. None that she's found and none that I've seen have even a height limit. So I mean, even by that process, I think the town of Stonington's a lot stricter in terms of regulating these features. And then additionally, both through the special use permit process with the commission, but also for commercial and industrial structures having to go through the architectural design review board as a requirement, I think that also is another layer of review that I think does give us a better control over those features. Although it might not be perfect and the old language might be too much, I would definitely appreciate the time to work both with FHI and Francisco to come up with better statistics or better research or scholarship to come up with a revised number that's potentially even lower than what we have now, meeting everybody's needs. But I think in the interim, my preference as a staff would be to put in the old language so that way we have no bias whatsoever going into the going into review of this amendment. But that's just me.
Carleen, did you want to make one more comment?
I just have one comment
The
to you, Chris.
public hearing's not closed, so.
I know. By the time they get to the architectural review board, they have already done all their engineering. It's too late. It's already on the plans. They're not going to want to go back and redo all the plans. That's going to be very expensive for someone.
It would. I'd highlight the recent approval of the property on 19 Jackson, where at the Architectural Review Board stage, they requested a complete architectural redesign, and the applicant did go back and actually do that. But yes, it was time-intensive, cost-intensive. An applicant can come up and say, yeah, we're not going to do that, and then it would be, but then it would be pursuant to the special use permit powers that the commission has. The only thing that I would say is a hard and fast requirement are things like elevators that are needed in certain structures by building code, or stairwells that are required by building code to service mechanical features, say, on the roof. Because usually your only alternative, if your mechanical feature isn't on the roof, it's on the side. So that's usually the only trade-off you get with those. I think, as we go through phase 2, as we go through doing some scholarship on it, being very strict about those features, or, having the leniency on the features that are required by building code versus having more discretion towards items that are, just for show, I think is a path that the commission could choose to take, so. But I understand.
Okay. Anything else, Cliff?
No, for me, I think, again, like I said, my preference would be to put in the original language, and my preference, since I'm the quote-unquote applicant here, I would like to get a vote on the language as it's presented with Carlene's comments, and then if the commission chooses to deny that and then work amongst themselves, I'd prefer that.
If there's no other comments from the commission or the public, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing for PZ 2444 text amendment.
Motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion? Public hearing is closed. What is the commission's pleasure on?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application for PZ 2444RA for the text amendment with the following stipulation. I'll do it as one stipulation, that for 12.12.1, number 1, shall receive, the word receive will be replaced with the word require. And then for 12.12.1, number 2, the words shall receive shall be replaced by the word shall require.
Unapproved.
Yeah, and approved.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're making a motion to approve the original language? Is that what you're making?
Correct, with the
to approve?
stipulation of those two.
Okay, motion to approve the original language, put it back in the regulations. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Any questions or comments on the motion? Discussion?
I do not understand the fear that we have about a lawsuit. We have gone back, we've documented, we've brought it forward, we've brought it forward to vote so that it's all documented. That was the only thing that we felt we weren't comfortable with, that we had not documented in minutes, that we take it out. So we brought it forward so that it would be documented that we are taking this out. The next thing that happened is, well, we're not going to take it out, we're going to change it. So let's put some scholarship around changing it, because last meeting, people said quite vocally they were not comfortable with the percentages that were in the original regulation, and that we were going to go and we were going to put some thought around it and come up with some other numbers. There's nothing, I think, wrong with being more conservative with the numbers now until we have time, if we want, to go back and revise it later. We can revise this as many times as we want, But if we're not comfortable with 75% and we feel like it's way higher than it needs to be, to just default and say, well, we're just gonna put it in the way it was before, knowing that we're not comfortable with it, is not fulfilling our responsibility as a board. It's just not. So I think that, we did put some scholarship around it. Are the numbers perfect? Perhaps not. But I think they're a heck of a lot better than what stands here now. I don't even know, when we talk about an application that's been in the past, I don't remember what those numbers are. I'm not interested in it. I'm looking at the numbers in the regulation today, and I'm saying, is this what we want for the town? And the answer is no.
Some of the things that concern me are that, if you have a corner lot and you've got two sides of a building exposed and we implement setbacks now, we may not be putting the elevator shaft in the least visible place. That's one thing. So those are the kinds of things that I think require careful thought and require more in-depth study. I agree with the fact that the number has to be lower, but I think we're going to come right back to this, and whether we come right back to some interim language or whether we come right back to the original language, I don't think makes a big difference. I think we all recognize this was a spirited discussion. I think the commission can easily come to an agreement in the near term without this other matter in the background, as Ben has suggested. And this permits us to move it forward. I support many of the things you're talking about, and I think you're right. I support many of the things that Commissioner Morrissey has talked about, and I think she's right. I think that it requires a lot more thought to get it right. And things like corner lots, through lots, and other situations where you could be putting a stipulation in the regulation that forces these appurtenances into the wrong location on the roof would be an equally bad mistake. So, bringing back the original regulation while we consider all the good things that have been mentioned, to include setbacks, lowering the percentages, stipulating a height, all are good ideas, but I think there's more work to do to get it right. So we have a motion on the floor.
Well, I think there's probably, is there more discussion?
Well, I
Yeah,
was going to ask if there's
agree
no
with
other discussion.
Yeah, we could just, the setbacks was just something I threw out, and I just don't really know how they would work, and that would definitely take some more scholarship. That's a great word. But we could just say 50%. Because if we all say 75 is too high, or not all of us, if the majority of us say 75 is too high, we could just right now say 30, but leave everything else the same. At least that gets us closer to where we want to be.
And
You know what I'm saying?
I'm certainly open to that if that's the consensus of the commission.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I think we should, I agree with the where to put it, okay? I could see there are scenarios there. But the maximum percentage and the maximum height, I see no reason to not decrease that now. And I want you to think about 6 applications. Let's think practically. How long is it going to take us? We got the rewrite, we got the POCD, we got this, we got that. What's our bandwidth here to do more scholarship, a little more research, rewrite it, bring it forward, 2 meetings, get it voted on? We're talking 6+ months, 9 maybe. Let's say we had 5 applications rushing in to come and do this, okay? And, they're all putting elevator shafts 10 feet, they're putting 75% of the roofs are gonna be covered. You always have to look at the max build out. Are you gonna be happy with that? Well, yeah, we should have lowered that. So I agree, let's not do the setback, but let's lower the percentage and lower the height. And we can always come back and do more.
And I just, when we say let's bring it up in front of the zoning rewrite, every single zoning rewrite meeting we've had that I've been on, we don't have time to talk about that, we're too busy, we only have 2 hours. I really wanted a night to talk about the HI 60 zone, and I was told to the last one, no time left for that. So why are we gonna go back and hash this out when we're so limited on time with that?
Well, I think we said it was a POCD subject.
No, well, that's not exactly what I remember everyone saying, but it was, yes, we did talk about doing it, but we ran out of time, is what Francisco said. We ran out of time, and it could also be addressed in POCD.
Well, we
But-
have to, at some point in time, get our arms around the rewrite and try to
Right,
finish it.
but what I'm saying,
We've been-
those
just
meetings
allow
are
me to
so-
finish, please.
sorry.
I'm sorry. I try to be respectful of everybody, and I know you are as well, but we've been at this for a year and a half, and, you know, we've got to complete the work. So there are some things that we've got to agree are beyond the scope of this discussion, and it isn't that no one wants to discuss that zone, it's that we thought it was more appropriate for the POCD. Do you want to consider?
No, I think I put the motion, and it's been seconded.
Okay, so the motion stands, and it's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
But we can deny, and if we go forward with
And
the
then make an
denial,
amended motion.
then we can make another motion. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so we probably should do this individually, starting with Commissioner
Deny.
Morrissey. No?
Yeah.
Approved? Approved. Gary?
Approve.
Deny.
Okay, so I vote to break the tie and approve the motion. So the motion passes. And I do say this, and it won't take us 6 months to do it, that this discussion was very fruitful. It will lead to the modification of the regulation, and your points are not lost on me, that it has to be done quicker than 6 months. Okay, the next item for public hearing has been withdrawn. Has everybody looked at future public hearings? Any questions of Clifton on the items coming up? If there are no questions on future public hearings, the appropriate motion to adjourn is in order.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn is approved.